Worrying doesn't protect your future. It steals your present. Most of the things you worry about never actually happen, yet they still steal your peace, your focus, and your happiness, because worrying is nothing but your mind creating problems that do not exist in reality. And most people live in this loop, thinking about what if, imagining worst-case scenarios and stressing over things they cannot control. But when you understand that worry is just a mental habit, everything changes, because you realize that you are not reacting to reality, you are reacting to your thoughts. And this is powerful, because it gives you control, because if worry is created in your mind, it can also be stopping your mind. And at the same time, this mindset also brings awareness, because you begin to notice how much time and energy you waste on unnecessary thoughts. And over time, this creates a shift, because you stop feeding those thoughts. And when you stop feeding worry, it starts to lose its power. And this is what truly helps you become happier, because peace is not found outside. It is created when you stop overthinking what hasn't even happened. As you go deeper, you begin to understand that worrying comes from trying to control what you cannot control, because the future is uncertain, other people are unpredictable, and life does not always go according to plan. And most people struggle because they want certainty, they want guarantees. And when they don't have it, they start worrying. But when you accept uncertainty, when you focus only on what you can control, everything changes, because you're no longer fighting reality. And this is powerful, because it reduces stress instantly, because you're not trying to control the uncontrollable. And at the same time, this mindset also builds strength, because you're focusing your energy on action, not on fear. And over time, this creates confidence, because you trust yourself to handle whatever happens instead of worrying about it in advance. And this is what truly helps you grow, because happiness comes from focusing on what you can do, not what you cannot control. As your awareness increases, you begin to realize that worrying is a habit that can be replaced, because your mind will always think, but you can decide what it thinks about. And most people allow their mind to wander into negativity, into fear, into doubt. But when you train your mind to focus on solutions instead of problems, everything changes, because you're not stuck in fear. You are moving toward action, and this is powerful, because action reduces anxiety, because you're doing something instead of just thinking. And at the same time, this mindset also builds clarity, because you're not overwhelmed by possibilities. You're focused on steps, and over time, this creates a calm mind, because your thoughts are directed, not random. And this is what truly helps you become happier, because when your mind is focused on solutions, worry has no place to grow at the highest level. You begin to understand that letting go is the key to happiness, because as long as you hold on to every fear, every doubt, and every possible outcome, you will never feel at peace. But when you learn to let go, when you accept that not everything needs to be figured out right now, everything changes, because you give yourself freedom. And this is powerful, because it allows you to live in the present, because you are not constantly stuck in the future. And at the same time, this mindset also brings calmness, because you're not carrying unnecessary mental weight. And over time, this creates a happier life, because your mind is lighter, your emotions are balanced, and your focus is clear. And eventually, you realize that worrying never made anything better, but letting go made everything easier. And that is where real happiness begins. As you go deeper into freeing yourself from worry, you begin to understand that your attention is your greatest asset, because whatever you focus on grows stronger in your mind. And most people constantly focus on problems, risks, and negative possibilities, and this keeps them trapped in worry. But when you shift your attention toward what is working, toward what you can improve, everything changes, because you're feeding positive and productive thoughts. And this is powerful, because your mind starts working for you instead of against you. And at the same time, this mindset also builds gratitude, because you begin to notice the good in your life instead of only the bad. And over time, this creates a calmer and happier mindset, because your focus determines your emotional state. And this is what truly helps you grow, because when you control your attention, You control your peace as your awareness increases. You begin to realize that worrying is often tied to overthinking, because the more you think, the more scenarios you create. And the more scenarios you create, the more anxious you become. And most people believe that thinking more will solve their problems. But in reality, it often makes them worse. But when you simplify your thinking, when you focus only on what needs to be done next, everything changes, because you reduce mental noise. And this is powerful, because clarity replaces confusion. And at the same time, this mindset also builds action, because instead of thinking endlessly, you start doing. And over time, this creates progress, because you are moving forward instead of staying stuck in your head. And this is what truly helps you become happier, because action creates confidence, while overthinking creates fear. As your control becomes stronger, you begin to understand that trusting yourself is the opposite of worrying, because worry comes from doubt in your ability to handle situations, doubt in your future, and doubt in yourself. But when you build self-trust, everything changes, because you know that no matter what happens, you'll figure out. And this is powerful, because it removes fear of the unknown. And at the same time, this mindset also builds confidence, because you are not dependent on perfect conditions. You are relying on your ability to adapt. And over time, this creates a strong inner belief, because you're no longer afraid of challenges. You are ready for them. And this is what truly helps you stay calm, because when you trust yourself, there is nothing to worry about at a deeper level. You begin to realize that living in the present moment is a key to eliminating worry, because worry always exists in the future, in things that have not happened yet. And most people live in that future, thinking, planning, and stressing. But when you bring your focus back to the present, everything changes, because the present moment is where life actually happens. And this is powerful, because it removes unnecessary stress. Because right now, in this moment, most things are actually fine. And at the same time, this mindset also brings peace, because you're not overwhelmed by possibilities. You are grounded in reality. And over time, this creates a calm and focused life, because your mind is not scattered, it is centered. And this is what truly helps you become happier, because happiness exists in the present, not an imagined future. As you move toward complete freedom from worry, you begin to understand that uncertainty is not your enemy. It is a natural part of life, because nothing is ever guaranteed, and most people resist this. They want certainty in everything, their future, their success, their relationships. But that desire creates constant worry. But when you accept uncertainty, when you understand that not everything needs to be known right now, everything changes, because you're no longer fighting reality. And this is powerful, because acceptance removes anxiety, because you're not trying to control what cannot be controlled. And at the same time, this mindset also builds courage, because you are willing to move forward without having all the answers. And over time, this creates confidence, because you realize that you can handle whatever comes your way. And this is what truly helps you become happier, because peace comes from acceptance, not control. As your mindset becomes stronger, you begin to realize that worrying often comes from giving too much importance to things that do not truly matter, because not everything deserves your attention, your time, or your energy. And most people treat small problems like big ones. They stress over opinions, minor setbacks, and temporary situations. But when you change your perspective, when you start asking yourself, will this matter in a year? Everything changes, because you filter what is important and what is not. And this is powerful, because it reduces unnecessary stress, because you're not reacting to everything. And at the same time, this mindset also builds clarity, because you're focused on what truly matters. And over time, this creates a calm and balanced life, because you are not overwhelmed by small things. And this is what truly helps you stay peaceful, because when you stop magnifying small problems, they lose their power. As you go deeper, you begin to understand that letting go of control also means letting go of perfection, because many people worry because they want everything to be perfect. They want perfect outcomes, perfect decisions and perfect timing. But perfection does not exist, and chasing it only creates pressure and anxiety. But when you accept imperfection, when you allow yourself to make mistakes and learn from them, everything changes because you remove unnecessary pressure. And this is powerful because it gives you freedom, because you're not afraid of doing things wrong. And at the same time, this mindset also builds growth because you're focused on progress, not perfection. And over time, this creates confidence because you're not holding yourself back anymore. And this is what truly helps you become happier, because life becomes lighter when you stop trying to make everything perfect at the highest level. You begin to understand that happiness is a result of a calm mind. And a calm mind comes from letting go of unnecessary thoughts, because most of your stress is not from reality. It is from thinking too much about reality. And most people carry mental noise all day, worrying about the future, replaying the past, and overanalyzing everything. But when you learn to quiet your mind, when you stop engaging with every thought, everything changes because your mind becomes peaceful. And this is powerful because peace creates happiness naturally. And at the same time, this mindset also builds awareness because you are observing your thoughts instead of getting lost in them. And over time, this creates a life of clarity, calmness, and control because your thoughts are not controlling you anymore. And eventually, you realize the truth that you don't need to fix everything to be happy. You just need to stop worrying about everything. And happiness will come on its own. As you move beyond basic calmness, you begin to understand that worrying survives on repetition, because the more you think the same fearful thoughts again and again, the stronger they become. And most people unknowingly rehearse their worries daily, replaying the same fears, the same doubts, and the same imagined problems. But when you break this loop, everything changes because you stop strengthening those thoughts. And this is powerful because your mind only grows what you repeat. And at the same time, this mindset also builds awareness because you begin to catch yourself when you start worrying, and instead of continuing, you shift your focus. And over time, this creates a new pattern because your default thinking becomes calmer and more controlled. And this is what truly helps you become happier, because when you stop repeating worry, it slowly disappears from your life. As your mindset becomes stronger, you begin to realize that you don't need to solve every problem in your head, because many things can only be handled in real life, not in your thoughts. And most people try to mentally solve everything. They think endlessly about situations that have not even happened yet. But when you shift from thinking to doing, everything changes because action replaces anxiety. And this is powerful because even small steps create a sense of control. And at the same time, this mindset also builds confidence because you are proving to yourself that you can handle things in reality instead of fearing them in your mind. And over time, this creates progress because you're not stuck in your thoughts anymore. You are moving forward. And this is what truly helps you stay calm, because real solutions come from action, not from worry at the highest extension. You begin to understand that your environment and inputs shape your mental state, because what you watch, what you listen to, and what you surround yourself with directly affect your thoughts. And most people consume negativity constantly, news, social media, and conversations filled with fear, and this feeds their worries. But when you control your inputs, when you choose positivity, growth, and calmness, everything changes because you are feeding your mind better content. And this is powerful because your mind reflects what it absorbs. At the same time, this mindset also builds discipline because you're not allowing negative influences to disturb your peace. And over time, this creates a calmer mindset because your thoughts are not filled with unnecessary fear. And this is what truly helps you become happier, because a peaceful mind is built by what you allow into the ultimate level. You begin to realize that happiness is not something you chase. It is something you allow, because when worry, overthinking, and fear are removed, happiness naturally appears. And most people try to find happiness outside, in achievements, in approval, and in results. But real happiness comes from within, from a calm and controlled mind. And this is powerful because it means you already have everything you need. And at the same time, this mindset also creates freedom because you're not dependent on external situations to feel good. And over time, this builds a stable and peaceful life because your happiness is not temporary. It is consistent. And this is what truly changes everything, because when you stop worrying, you don't just feel better, you live better. And that is the ultimate transformation as you go even deeper. You begin to understand that most worries are illusions created by lack of clarity, because when you don't know what to do, your mind starts imagining everything that could go wrong. And this confusion turns into fear. But when you bring clarity, when you define your next step, everything changes because uncertainty reduces. And this is powerful because your mind relaxes when it knows what to do. And at the same time, this mindset also builds direction because you're no longer lost in thoughts. You're focused on action. And over time, this creates confidence because each step you take removes a part of your fear. And this is what truly helps you stay calm, because clarity replaces anxiety. As your awareness grows stronger, you begin to realize that acceptance is the antidote to worry, because worrying is resistance to what might happen, resistance to uncertainty, and resistance to outcomes you cannot control. But when you accept, when you allow life to unfold without fighting it, everything changes because your mind stops struggling. And this is powerful because acceptance brings peace instantly. And at the same time, this mindset also builds resilience because you're not breaking under pressure. You are adapting. And over time, this creates emotional strength because you're able to face situations without fear. And this is what truly helps you grow, because when you accept what you cannot control, worry disappears. At the highest stage of mental freedom, you begin to understand that your thoughts are not commands. They are just suggestions, because most people believe every thought they have. And when a negative thought appears, they follow it, they expand it, and they turn it into worry. But when you separate yourself from your thoughts, when you observe them without believing them, everything changes because you are no longer controlled by them. And this is powerful because it creates distance between you and your mind. And at the same time, this mindset also builds awareness because you're not reacting to every thought. You are choosing which ones to follow. And over time, this creates complete control because your mind is no longer running on autopilot. And this is what truly helps you become happier, because when you stop believing every negative thought, worry loses its power. At the absolute final level, you realize that a worry-free life is not about eliminating problems. It is about changing your relationship with them, because problems will always exist, challenges will always come, and uncertainty will always be there. But what changes is you, your mindset, your reactions, and your perspective. And this is powerful because it gives you control in any situation. And at the same time, this mindset also creates lasting peace because you're not disturbed by temporary issues. You're focused on long-term growth. And over time, this builds a life of stability, confidence, and happiness because your mind is calm, your emotions are balanced, and your actions are intentional. And eventually, you understand the ultimate truth, that happiness is not found in a perfect life, but in a peaceful mind. And once your mind is peaceful, nothing can take that happiness away from you. Fire in the end, you begin to understand that peace, control, and happiness were never things you had to chase. They were always within you, waiting for you to stop fighting your own mind, because all the stress, all the anger, all the worry was not coming from the world. It was coming from how you were thinking about the world. And the moment you realize this, everything changes because you stop trying to control everything outside and you start mastering everything inside. And this is powerful because it gives you true freedom. The kind of freedom where no opinion can shake you, no situation can break you, and no uncertainty can scare you. Because you trust yourself, you trust your ability to handle whatever comes. And at the same time, this mindset creates a calm strength, a silent confidence, where you don't need to prove anything to anyone. You don't need to react to everything. You don't need to worry about what might happen because you're grounded, focused, and in control. And over time, this becomes your identity. Not something you try to do, but something you naturally are. And that is when life becomes lighter, clearer, and more meaningful, because you're no longer trapped in overthinking or controlled by emotions. You're living with awareness, with intention, and with peace. And eventually, you understand the deepest truth of all, that the moment you master your mind, you don't just change your life, you rise above it. And from that point on, nothing can disturb your peace. Nothing can control your direction, and nothing can stop you from becoming the strongest, calmest, and most unstoppable version of yourself.